Most people don't really fail their diets because they cannot physically continue dieting and because they're starving. I feel like most people fail their diets because of like mental problems and because of like mental issues that you kind of accumulate while dieting. So, for example, today I was at the gym, I had a training session, and during this training session, I decided that I'm going to have a cheat day, and then I decided that I'm not going to have a cheat day like 5 times in a row. And you do become a little bit mentally unstable when you're starving because your brain starts playing tricks on you, and your brain starts coming up with new, interesting, and fun ways to like fuck with you and to try to convince you to eat because obviously like your body doesn't really understand what is it that you're doing. Your body just thinks that you're starving, that you're not getting enough food, and you're normally used to having significantly more food, and now it's kind of like demanding food, like it wants to eat. And especially considering the fact that on top of the diet you're going to the gym and you're lifting heavy weights constantly, that also isn't really a great thing when it comes to like your body being at peace and your body performing the way that it should. So it actually becomes more of a mental thing rather than a physical thing because physically I feel great. Like, okay, I am a little bit weaker than I normally am, and I am significantly more fragile than I normally am, but overall, like, I've never felt as good. Like, it is a healthy thing to do, like being in shape. But yeah, the biggest part is the mental part because it's almost like you have a different voice in your head from what you normally do. So, I mean, we all have our little voice in our heads that is kind of like constantly talking to us, right? But normally it's like you have this like voice that you're used to, like you are kind of like always like basically conversating with it and you're kind of like making the decisions in cooperation with this voice. But then when you're dieting, when you're starving, like the voice transforms a little bit. It's no longer as chill as it normally is. So like your inner voice becomes a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more naggy, generally more negative. You are going to perceive things that are normally perceived relatively normally, you're going to perceive them in a much more negative light than you normally would. So it does become a mental exercise more than anything else. And at this point, I've been doing this for a while now, and this is not my first cut. So it did take me a while to remember how is it that it felt because I haven't really done it for a while. But now when I kind of once again got back into it and when I now remember how did the last cuts go and how is this one going, like I do understand what's happening and I'm able to control myself. But like today was freaky. I was actually convinced during the training session that I'm going to come home and I'm going to eat more food. And I was lying to myself that I'm going to eat a little bit more, but if I would have actually went for like the food, for the additional food, then I would have ate a lot of food. Like I wouldn't eat like small amounts of food because as soon as I would start, I will most probably not be able to stop. So yeah, it's good that I caught myself and it's good that I was able to control it. But I do feel like I need to do a refeed. So tomorrow and the day after tomorrow most probably is going to be the day when I'm going to start gradually increasing my food intake. I'm going to start tomorrow with a little bit more, hopefully not a lot more. Then the day after that, I'm going to have like a proper good cheat day. And then most probably afterwards, I'm gonna have to like start not eating again, but at least that kind of helps in a way where like if you do eat more food for like 2 to 3 days, first of all, you're going to be stronger because you're going to kind of refeed yourself. But then on top of it, also, it just becomes a little bit more easier for like the next week mentally because you all kind of calm down a little bit. So, like the next week after like a cheat day or maybe 2 cheat days becomes a little bit more simple and a little bit less intense. But the only problem with that is, and the only tricky part with these cheat days is you really need to decide how long is it that you're going to be doing this for. And normally I wouldn't really suggest that you refeed yourself for more than 2 days because you can become weird with these sorts of things. You can kind of like fall into binge dieting and you can fall into this trap of like binging for like several days in a row and then once again needing to overcompensate and overstarve yourself. And that's actually how you mostly develop like food disorders, eating disorders, I mean, because like yeah, that is not a healthy way to do it. So like it needs to be controlled and you need to be like very clever with the thing that you're going to be doing. So for example, tomorrow I'm most probably, I still haven't fully decided, but most probably I'm going to just have like more food, more regular food, the food that I would normally eat. And I'm not really going to binge on any junk or on any sweets. And then the day after that, I am going to go full out. I'm going to eat whatever the fuck is it that I want to eat. I already have my plans for like having like ice cream with like bananas and like chocolate syrup and stuff like that. So like the day after that, like on Friday, I'm going to go absolutely crazy. And then once again, I'm going to go back to normal and I'm kind of going to go back into my diet because I still have like a month of dieting left before I go back to maintenance. So like, yeah, I really need to kind of like push through this now, and I really need to control this because I do love how is it that I look now, and I feel like I'm in the best shape that I have been in like for a while. But yeah, it's just mentally exhausting, and like the training is also kind of, at least today it wasn't great. Like today was actually absolutely dog shit training wise. Like I was like really suffering during the training session. But well, I did it. Came back home, didn't cheat on my diet, ate only the food that I needed to eat. So I feel like I'm quite good when it comes to managing myself nowadays and controlling myself and not really listening to my inner voice and not really doing the stuff that I shouldn't be doing. So that's a positive thing. That's good. But yeah, other than that, today has been absolutely miserable. This was probably one of the harder days during the diet. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I can do is keeping on like controlling myself, to keep on like managing myself in a proper way and not give up, because most people do fail their diets because of mental aspects rather than physical aspects. So for me, my goal is to keep myself mentally stable, keep myself like in a good, reasonable headspace, forcefully sometimes, and just keep on going forward. So yeah, nothing more to say today. This is how I am doing with my diet right now, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So see you guys tomorrow.